Okay. All right. That was not very chill. That was not very chill at all. That was just absolutely fucking awful. One quick second. The fact that you are all still here really just like warms my fucking heart. I hope you know that. Cause I
Oh, special people we have here.
personally was having a fucking heart attack just now.
Wait, what? I don't know why I can't hear you through Discord right now.
You can't hear me right now?
I can hear you through Twitch, but not through Discord.
That's amazing. Oh my god, I'm like about to cry. Um Hang on.
Is Plant still here?
Plants, are you still here, homie?
Oh, he said we can't hear you. Plants, can you talk real quick to see if you come through Twitch? Wait, here.
All right, wait,
Can
hang on.
Johnny, can you leave and come back in,
Yeah,
or will that
I'm gonna I'm
crash
gonna
the
I'm
whole
gonna
thing?
try that. Okay, how about now? You still can't hear me, can you?
Wait, talk one more time.
Yeah, you still can't hear me, can you?
Ugh, it didn't work.
All right, hang on. Okay, how about now? Can you still not hear me? Can you hear me now?
I hear you on Discord now.
Holy crap.
You might have to go in and change your speakers. Mine changed back to default after that for some reason. So what I put my speakers, which I was just hearing you perfectly fine with after the fiasco, it switched back to default, which made it so that
All right, let's see how many times I have to do that. Is it still not working?
no, I hear you.
All right,
You
so
sound
my
good
audio
now.
is good. Plants, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We're
Yes.
good.
Oh my
We're
god.
good.
Nice.
Thank you all so much for sticking around.
And for the 24 fucking fakesters that left,
You know,
your name is on a list.
we'll remember you. Okay, because we hold grudges around here. Holy crap. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you know, and interested in like how just like dedicated we are to making sure that you get that revolutionary content and you get that revolutionary education, stick around, you know, hit that follow button. Don't break our hearts, right? You know, if you got a little bit to give, maybe like $5 a month, right? You know, think about subscribing because, you know, we're not just here to read books, we're also here to travel the globe. We're going to send Pat down to South America and he's going to interview the Kofan Nation down in, I'm sorry, is it Ecuador or Bolivia? I know it's like the border, right?
Ecuador and Colombia.
Ecuador and Colombia, okay. And we're going to be talking about their struggle in being harassed, harangued, murdered, and viciously attacked by oil companies, right? And other just vile fucking people. We also have podcast episodes that are up where we interviewed very recently Taiyake Alfred, who's another anti-colonial indigenous author that you should be checking out if you haven't already. And especially with everything going on right now within occupied Palestine, if that's of any interest to you, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel, right, where we have posted not a 4-hour long, you know, series of episodes about Elon Pape's The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, but a nice bite-sized two-parter, hour and a half, hour and 45-minute episodes regarding the ethnic cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé. So you should definitely, absolutely check that out. Please stick around, and I promise you're going to be learning a lot while you're here.
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome, everybody.
And we were interrupted there, but we do have our good friend and associate PlantsFanon here, who is kind of giving us a 101 breakdown of Dr. Lashuba, as well as just kind of like general misconceptions from a Euro-colonial perspective of development, agriculture, and how these things relate to one another.
Yeah. Glad to be here. Glad to be listening to the great Dr. Lashuba here. It's there's not much more I could add to his lectures.
Okay.
All I'll say is let's go on YouTube, and there are a ton of Dr. Lashuba lectures, and they're all priceless.
Also, Rylon, I noticed that you had gifted sub to Unelectable Airwaves and to Blot as well, I think, earlier. So thank you so much for the 2 gifted subs you've given to the channel. Sorry, it's been a little hectic. I want to make sure you got thanked for your contributions. Magazines. All right, thank you, Plants. Do you want to just continue on with the video a little bit here? We probably still got another like 15 minutes or so. Sorry that kind of cut your time short there.
Yeah, no worries. Do you guys want to continue with the video, or
I'm allowing you to hold my hand hold my hand in this respect. If you, however you want to utilize this next 15 minutes, if you think it's best to hear more of the lecture, or if you think it's better to have a discussion, I trust your vision on this.
Cool. I feel like we were at like he was getting into the meat of it. I feel like he'll get a little further in the next couple of minutes too.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to make sure that there's no down power lines right here.
Massification in terms of quantity. Okay. It was a transformation both in terms of quantity and quality. Now, in terms of quality, what this meant, it's not just quality as we understand quality today. This is of good quality. No, this is quality in another sense, mostly used by Marxists. So this transformation, in terms of quantity, in the process of production, in terms of quantity and quality, meant that not only could the process, as we've said, the process of production go on uninterrupted, but it also meant that commodities that were produced, came to assume a different meaning or significance. Marxists have a term for it. It's called the fetish of commodities. What do they mean? Now, if you think about a car and water, which of these two commodities, unfortunately, water has also become a commodity. It's a basic necessity of life, but it has become a commodity. If you think of these two commodities, you can do without a car. Water is essential for human survival. And so in terms of how fundamental and critical, to life, it is water that is much more fundamental. Maybe a car is too much, but if you think of an expensive coat that people wear, but why is it that the coat has more value in the market than water? What has changed is that value is no longer assigned in relation to the role that a commodity plays in the sustenance of life. Value now derives elsewhere, entirely in the market. It has no relationship. Value is no longer determined by what role that particular commodity plays in the sustenance and reproduction of life. No. It is now derived entirely in the market. And so what the market does is to create a fetish around commodities. That's the quality that happens. That's the qualitative transformation that happens as a result of the birth of the factory, or when production becomes, massified. And so because of the fetish of the commodity, you are happy to pay more for a perfume, than, for water. And we all know, which one is more essential, to life. But it is because the market has created a fetish behind, certain commodities. Now, I'm emphasizing this because we would need this, later on. The fetish of commodities. Let's keep in mind, we would need it as we talk about, the utopia of modernity, how modernity projects itself, how it creates an image of itself or an idea of itself. When we talk about modernity that has created an idea of itself as something positive, it is nothing but a fetish. That's why I have spent a bit of time trying to explain what a fetish is. It is nothing really related to reality. It is an idea that you create, and it actually becomes, it's an idea. It begins as an idea that you create, but that idea begins to determine reality. Hope you get what I mean. First, you have an idea that has no relationship with reality, but in time, so effective is the idea that it actually determines reality.
If you
That's
want to
what
pause it
modernity
there,
is.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
Hit a
we'll get
pause
okay,
to
on
so
that.
he's
that.
saying that's
So
what modernity is. Yeah, just he's y'all obviously can check out the whole lecture
Mhm.
on your own time. He goes much further than this, but I think most people get the gist, and especially if you have a background in Marxist theory, you get that the base creates and sustains the superstructure, and then the superstructure then acts back upon the base of society. That's basic, obviously. Base and superstructure, like that's
Right.
like pretty basic
Like a
101
reciprocal
Marxism.
relationship of reinforcement between the two.
This whole thing,
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
this this
Exactly.
little thing right
Johnny,
here.
Johnny's like,
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, as
It's a.
far
It's a.
back as like 2016, right? When I was still like a lib and I knew nothing. I knew nothing. I was blind in the world, crawling around like a newborn baby deer, not knowing nothing about like radical politics or Marxism or any of this stuff. My friend just literally pulled up this image and was like literally using this as like, all right, so like you got the superstructure, right? But that's not like, where everything happens. It all happens here in the base, but without the superstructure, the base kind of falls apart. They sort of feed into each other.
Exactly. So like what Dr. Lashaba does in all of his lectures, like I'd say probably even just this lecture is not going to be enough to, be fully acquainted with his methods and modes of thought. He draws in what makes great theorists like Dr. Lashaba is he just draws from so many sources, and being a modern theorist, you get to draw from so many excellent previous theorists. I learned about Dr. Sylvia Wynter from him. So many other freaking anti-colonial theorists, Peter Eke, and then also like Mahmoud Mamdani, who I have some problems with. He's like a free Xinjiang guy too, but like he does have some good early work. Honestly, that stuff is kind of peppered into the anti-colonial movement. Is like there's some just bad takes out there among the people um, who profess to be anti-colonial. They'll still be like, they'll parrot some narrative from a settler colony. And like it's like, yeah, and I'm anti-colonial. It's like, yeah, sure, buddy.
Trust me,
But
I get it. There's like Sylvia Federici, right? Her book Caliban and the Witch to me is like amazing. It was like one of like the first books that like I read regarding like I guess like leftist politics or whatever, and it's about like the foundations of like patriarchy within Europe, and I think it's like really interesting to try and understand where like, you know, the colonial gender, you know, relations like occurred. The issue is that, like, you know, she's able to engage with all of these other, like, you know, what is it, like Kant and all these other like philosophers of like the Enlightenment or whatever, right, and critique them. But at the same time, she's a fucking like a transphobe, and I'm just like, how? How do you fucking? So yeah, I get it. That like it shouldn't just be like, oh well, this person has a bad take on Xinjiang, or this person's a fucking transphobe. So we're gonna throw out all the other stuff regarding like the things that they have written on. You know
That kind of like purity, that kind of like purity level type of shit is like, what does it leave you with? What does it leave you with if you are that, you know, exclusionary of, especially in terms of a historical sense, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
you know, you can go back to Marx and identify some extremely crude and racist things that he said, and I'm not making any kind of apologies for that.
Right.
But you do got to understand that there's like, you know, and then the same goes for various things, and you know, now we're seeing with the trans stuff. You know what I mean? Norman Finkelstein. You know what I mean? Like, can't necessarily wrap his head around that. And it's like, fuck, man. Like, you're a very smart guy, but you know, it's just like, maybe it's just a little too late for you to fucking.
Yeah, and it's
a little too late for that one to get through. I don't know.
And it's funny because I think I see so many inconsistencies with people where it's like they get it, they just like have biases because
Right.
they'll be like free Julian Assange. It's like Julian Assange is a libertarian, and you know it's like good the whistleblower work that he does.
Yeah.
But then like it's like so funny because I'll talk about Michael Hudson, who basically does the same thing as Julian Assange, but like from an economic standpoint, because he like worked for JP Morgan Chase, and he's like, here's how the global economy works, and people will be like, well, he's a trot, and it's like, well, I don't care what he thinks about theory. Like, I care about what he did when he worked at JP Morgan Chase, and like it's the same as like, you know, like the leaked documents of Julian Assange. He's a whistleblower. Like that's it doesn't matter what a whistleblower's ideology is.
Right.
Like you that's not what you go to a whistleblower for.
He's a second generation trot. He's a trot because his dad was a trot in the same way.
A long line of trots.
I am a Pantera fan because my father was a Pantera fan.
My father before me.
Like, it's not my fault. All right, I inherited this.
Imagine taking CLR James's work, and especially I take this as like from the perspective of a white person in the United States, that if I were to look at like the reputable, respected, and valuable work of CLR James and just go, I'm going to slide all that off the table into the trash because he has a different perspective on, you know, events in the Soviet Union 100 years ago. And like me as like a white person from the United States is going to like look at, I believe he's from Trinidad, you know, a black Marxist, like an Afro-Caribbean Marxist from Trinidad, colonial Trinidad, and be like, sir, we don't listen to you here because of that thing that you said about Trotsky or Stalin.
Right. Well, I mean, Zoot, that's why, like, here we try to examine all of this and engage with all of this and interact with all of it with a grain of salt, right? Even the stuff that we like, we try to engage with it with a grain of salt and, like, you know, some level of, like, not partiality, but, like, you know, engaging.
I mean, you're not just looking for someone to deify and worship.
Yeah.
No, like that's the thing. That's
you don't have a
dialectics.
hole in your life that you need to fill with some sort of daddy figure.
Trying to heal intergenerational trauma with like,
you know, and isn't like there like this thing about Marxism that Marx is like a ruthless critique of all things or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? When you do fall into that orthodox dogmatism, in my opinion, that is, you are no longer being a Marxist.
Yeah.
When you're not open to that level of criticism. Marx.
And obviously there's a line for some where even if they say good things on a certain topic, they cause so much harm in another area, you can and should throw them out. I mean, like,
for sure. I think there's a line. There's definitely a line for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not, you know, well, there's good parts of Mein Kampf. You know, it's like,
exactly.
It's like, well, what are you talking? Like, what book are you talking about? You know, that's like, you know, what who am I like, I don't know, a Maoist? Like, maybe, yeah, I don't read Mao shit. Like, honestly, like, Maoists, like, love a lot of you guys, but, the baby boiling stuff, like, it's just like,
Gonzalo had some hot takes, all right, and
he
a
has
lot
some
of
pretty
them,
hot
those
takes.
hot takes involved hot water and babies. So,
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was going to say is that, like, we all can recognize that within the Marxist tradition, there's aberrations of it that we do. Pol Pot is an example of
Right.
this. Somebody who like claimed to be like a Marxist Leninist and like is attributed by detractors of Marxism as like one of the realizations of Marxist thought. But you know what I mean? Like whatever he was doing in furtherance of, the quote unquote revolution, the quote unquote Marxist Leninist revolution, I think it's pretty easiest for us to be like, yeah, no, thank you.
Right.
Same thing with Gonzalo. Yeah, no, thank you.
I think in our time, right? I think within our
Even
lifetimes,
settlements in Israel that
Right.
decided to be like, hey, guess what? We're Marxist or we're socialist.
we're gonna set up kibbutzes in this
Here's some
occupied land.
Soviet propaganda hung up in the kibbutz, and here's a parade for Stalin.
Right.
At the same time, it's like, no, like we're not going to own this part.
Right. Well, I mean, I think Gaddafi is like a perfect example of like, being that kind of like, sort of wild card, I guess, for lack of a better term, where it's just like, Gaddafi did great shit. He had great ideas, but he also did probably some awful shit.
He certainly did some awful shit, and also he was not a Marxist.
No.
I mean, there's probably some way that we can understand him in a Marxist sense, you know what I mean? That he is parallel with a lot of Marxist projects. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, this doesn't have to be just some, like, team sports situation where, like, the person has to, like, genuflect to, like, the altar of Marxism, in a sense. Like, and, I quote Michael Perenni a lot. And when Michael Perenni says, the revolution that's feeding the children is the revolution that gets my support.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you don't wave a certain kind of banner.
Right.
That makes me feel comfortable.
Right. This is not a team sport.
Matt, unelectable airwaves. I'm imagining a Stalin kibbutz. I would bet every dollar that I have that there was this type of thing. Have you seen those pictures of those parades in Israel and Tel Aviv where they have Lenin and Stalin all over a bus? And if you read the Cleansing of Palestine, when he's talking about the Red House or the White House, I forget what it is, but he's talking about Soviet propaganda hung up in this house that was part of a kibbutz.
Don't make me grab my copy of the Green Book, Red Wizard.
So that just like maybe it's something that can lead into, I don't even remember now how it leads into it, but this all it's everything. Palestine kind of especially, actually that's what I was thinking of. Palestine especially is like, it's literally just the fucking Crusades still. Like the Europeans never stopped doing the Crusades, and not even just the Crusades, but the Roman Empire. These are literally, and it's not even like, this isn't even like a, crazy theory. This is like, quite literally like what notable cultural, political, philosophical influence of Western European society does not hold some sort of like reverence or have influence from Greek society and then like medieval society. Like it all draws from that, and it's
what quote unquote Western culture is still hinging upon those dynasties in a sense.
Exactly, and that's why that's why I'm directing people to Dr. Lushaba. Like honestly, I think he's a great. We're talking about starts for theory. I think he's a great start because he will introduce you to thoughts from all sorts of theorists. Like you guys were talking about the divide earlier. That's why those kinds of works are good, because it's like it'll introduce you to a lot of things, give you the gist of everything, so that when you go down whatever avenue, like you're better able to piece things together as you go.
Yeah,
and like that's really the best, and it really has to come from an anti-colonial perspective, because not doing that is just flat out ahistorical, and that's what a lot of Marxists are doing, and that's why we need like the Dr. Lushabas, who will trace the dominant ideology, which is like to illuminate to people what the forces at work are and the nature of them and their characteristics. He traces everything back through its epistemology, and he got that from certain theorists like Sylvia Wynter, who studied the epistemology of the thought and the history, and is like and tying it into the history.
Yeah.
Talking about the first on our podcast, if I could plug our podcast real quick.
Of course, absolutely.
Post Scarcity podcast we're only on Spotify right now. I'm gonna get up on YouTube. I'm doing everything super slowly because I tend to do too many things at once. But yeah, like what we're going over Sylvia Wynter's essay, unsettling the coloniality of power being. It's a super long title. I'll never remember it. It's like it's like a paragraph or a full sentence. But like that work goes over some basic history that I really never went over. Like I don't know any other texts that go over the first encounter that way in a theoretical way, where it's like a theorist approaching 1492 and the thereafter, and how colonization ensued. And that's really I'm sure you guys will get to that eventually. You guys got so much. You guys are doing a lot, and I want to take this moment to appreciate you guys. You guys are doing so much with history, and I'm sure you'll get around to that eventually. You guys put in so much work. I can see all the work. I hope it's appreciated. All the work you guys put into this program.
Wow, thank you so much, Plants. That's so nice to hear. Thank you so much. And you've been instrumental with that. You know what I mean? Like, you and Rick were early people that came on and talked to us and gave us like perspectives that we need, from, a certain perspective of, to being from an indigenous perspective from the colonized communities and things like that. Because me and Johnny are members of this settler colonial society. So it's important that we have those conversations, and just be like having, you guys come on and do certain talks with us, meeting up with us and stuff like that has been, instrumental in our growth as well. And it's awesome to have you as like a comrade in this project as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope you know that you have, played a part in changing my life and like what I want to do with my life.
Hell yeah, y'all. That's what it's about, the community and having people. I also appreciate you guys have principles, something that can be, shaky on the left. Like a lot of people don't really have the principles they claim to. And
thank you. And same goes for you. I can tell of like the caliber of person, we've spent time together in real life and things like that. And you know what I mean? That just gives you a different, like, respect for a person of how they are. You can kind of tell like, all right, this isn't just some shady guy behind a computer.
Yeah.
Well, I can be both.
I could be shady. What are principles that remain untested worth? Exactly. And I feel like we've been tested, like
Red Falcon, you were there too. You can't say that you felt attacked. You were right in this conversation as well, along with, I actually feel bad that I didn't mention you alongside with Rick and Plants as being there right there along with us. You came on super early and talked to us about the LaRoucheite stuff, and you've come on several times. You've helped us with the Tayake Alfred stuff. You've helped us with the Oka documentary and everything like that. So huge shout out, not only Plants, not only Rick, but also so much to Red Falcon as well.
Yeah, shout out to Falcon.
Yeah,
we all went to the food festival. Yeah, we went to the East Asian Food Festival in Philadelphia together. It was good.
It was good. We're gonna reunite.
A good time was had by all.
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, that was what it was. It was the Rainer Shea stuff that we talked about first. That was it.
Man, I wonder what he's doing now. Nah, never mind. I don't care.
Not the same thing. He's drawing really weird fan art of Adventure Time.
He's still doing that? You know what?
I would assume. Honestly, I haven't checked.
I haven't checked or thought about it, but you know what? I'm not gonna hate. Like, good for him staying dedicated to his Adventure Time fan art.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Honestly, I think he should spend more time on that and less on the political.
You should probably spend more time on that and less time talking shit about Gerald Horn.
Exactly. Yeah. Without reading.
Yeah.
That sucks. It's one thing if you read the entire book and you're like, it's kind of mid, you know. But it's another thing that's like I haven't even
Here's
read it.
my opinion about this book I haven't read.
Dude, that's but that's endemic. That's endemic to the left. Before we, start this movie,
Johnny, do you want to bring up this picture that someone just sent to us? Do you want to bring up this picture that someone just sent?
Yeah, send it to me.
Is this in look at it. It's in our messages on just check Facebook. Is this inappropriate to bring up on stream? I don't think so.
Where the hell is it? I think
you might have to check on your it's in a group chat that we're in.
I think I have to reopen it. Facebook was doing this earlier to me. I wish that I could just get you on just Discord.
Here, do you want me to send it on Discord? I am on Discord, dude.
It's more on Discord.
Someone else said it.
Okay, so me. Rick, don't take any offense to this. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you find it funny because it is.
Wait, you said Rick?
I would think that Rick made that.
Yeah.
I would think that's Rick's meme.
Wait, can you scroll down a little bit? Can we just see the full breadth of it here?
Whether it is or not, I would hope that he would do that either way. Some people need to be purged.
Yeah. So sometimes your homie is, oh, you made it. All right, good. Yeah. No, I didn't even check which group chat it was in. But,
exactly. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you made that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, you can hang out as long as you want. If you want to hang out on stream while we watch this documentary about Niger, you're more than welcome to. If you got other stuff to do and you want to hang out and chat or whatever you want to do, feel free. I'm just letting you know.
So
I'm down to chill.
Is it Niger or is it Niger?
I mean, it's tomato.
I think Niger's like the anglicized.
Yeah.
I think it is Niger because that's like a French,
right?
French colony. So.
Yeah, but then that would be just like the colonial name. Either way, it's like a colonial.
Oh, either way, it's not what it was. Those lines were drawn in the Berlin Conference, yeah. So that has nothing to do with the actual territorial divides among ethnic lines. None of the lines in Africa.
Also, Johnny, before we start the video, can you bring the Patreon out? Because I just wanted to bring up while we have plants here, I wanted to address this issue. Because as everyone here should know by now, PlantsFanon is one of the individuals who elected one of the books that is in the Subversive History election. So here is the Patreon election for the next book that we will read once we are finished with How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And we're about 100 page into the book already. So we're like almost into like 100 page, third of the way through the book. So it's coming quickly. Our very own PlantsFanon, who is on stream with us right now, elected The Brothers, which is about the Dulles brothers. He's been talking about it for a while, so we put it on there. It's up for election. Strin Sam, our cherished moderator, brought up CIA's organized crime. Johnny chose Domenico Lacerdo's liberalism. I chose Mike Davis's late Victorian Holocausts. I wanted to say there's a three-way tie for second, and The Brothers was in the lead at one point, and now it has taken a back seat to CIA's organized crime. Plants, is there anything that you'd like to say regarding your candidate for the upcoming Subversive History election?
Oh, CIA is organized crime. I've heard of that one before. I'm sure it's a great read.
I heard CIA's organized crime has very small hands.
Small hands?
It's very small hands. Have you heard of this?
No.
You never heard about Donald Trump having? I was doing an election.
What the fuck?
I'm doing an election thing right now.
Oh, okay.
It has small hands.
All right, hands are now bigger. I'm getting okay.
My hands are bigger, and you should vote for the Brothers. But yeah, the Brothers. Honestly, I would probably say that if you're looking for something that will give you an idea of the CIA, I highly doubt that the CIA as organized crime. Like, if you were to pick one of the two, would probably give you a good idea. Because, the CIA was just made by these two fucking guys, man.
Right.
Like it's literally like the Brothers, it's literally just them. They made the CIA, and they made the global order, essentially, because the U.S. government is is a fucking whatever dog and pony show, whatever they call it.
Really?
It's like it's not a. There's no like the Trilateral Commission decides who gets to be president, and and the CIA of it doesn't have oversight, first of all.
Yeah.
Like, and then second, so not even the bourgeois settler colonial state has any oversight over this organization, and they act with impunity internationally, and they essentially are a shadow government. It's like it's not like any more complicated than that, I don't think. And like to know who did that, to know who like put that thing together, I think is more illuminating than almost anything that has to do with anti-imperialist thought, because it's like you can analyze the effects of imperialism, and it's like something I'll actually take this opportunity to say about Lenin is like, love the guy, like one of my biggest influences, but like he kind of fell short in a lot of ways, like with his economism. Like Stalin was better than him on the national question. Like Larry and I'll say that all the time, and Falcon and our crew. Like it's like he didn't quite. He was of that thinking that if you solve the all class contradictions, then the like national oppression contradictions will fall into line, because the primary contradiction is exclusively class. And I think a lot of that has to come from, he's dealing with his own situation, which Europe is like very complicated. That has a complicated history of conquest.
Indeed.
And Russia, isn't exempt from that. And Russia has always, even though it's considered Eurasia, it has always been like a sister to the rest of Europe, or to Western
we literally
Europe.
just read a whole book on World War One. We're painfully
exactly
aware.
Like literally their monarchy was like part of Western European monarchy.
Yeah.
So it was like they, when you're looking at the Russian Revolution, you have to have that understanding in mind that like this is, even though Slavs are in many cases not considered white and are discriminated against, they, like the Irish, have this weird quasi-white identity and like quasi-European.
Only if they're from Ukraine now.
When you're white purity
testing,
when you're
all the subdivisions.
Yeah, when you're doing white purity testing, they aren't white, but when you compare them to black people, they get to be white.
Exactly.
When you're doing like that kind of like political like.
They're conditionally white.
Exactly. When it's advantageous, yeah.
So like when you're thinking about Lenin, he did, when someone's the first one to do some shit, like it's like you just can never be like that big of a, who are you to say like, oh, you didn't do the Russian Revolution perfect,
right?
So it's like, to anyone that would like interpret this in that way, like it's not at all what I'm saying, but that if Lenin was like, had a perfect understanding of some sort of like modular model, this is like gets into what Dr. Lushaba is talking about, is like the idea that there's a unilinear like model, that a unilinear path to development and modernity, and and one modular system that can be applied to any conditions, is just flat out, it's not even Marxist, like that's flat out deviationist, like that's like whatever you want to call anti-Marxist or anti it's ahistorical also, like and if Lenin covered all of that, we wouldn't need Fanon, we wouldn't need Mao, we wouldn't need any of these other theorists that developed revolutionary thought under different conditions,
right?
And Dr. Lushaba is in a settler colony. So if you're thinking about, and also, Fanon, even before Lushaba, like Fanon, his thought was developed while dealing with a revolution in a settler colony. Mozambique and Martinique, I don't think would be considered settler colonies. I think they would be considered colonies of domination. Is the other. That's the distinction. A settler colony is where obviously the colonizers establish a significant, settlement in the territory, whereas a colony of domination is more like it's just sparse colonial administration would be all of the domestic colonizers that exist.
So I just wanted to hit on one thing that somebody said in chat. I think that was Zoot, that said something about the book that's currently winning right now. What was it? It was something about how
Baldwin's Ghost said, I've read CIA's organized crime and it can easily come off as some conspiracy stuff. I don't know. It might be Douglas Valentine's writing style.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Well,
That's kind of the problem with a lot of the CIA
books.
Because it's like right-wing guys. The brothers could be.
CIA as organized crime is good, but unfortunately the weirdest motherfuckers can't stop talking about it. Well, that dude, if you want us to read another book.
Yeah, you know. Hey, listen, if you guys want to support PlantsFanon's elected official or anyone else, you might have to cough up that $2. And you might have to scrounge up those couple quarters, jump on into the Patreon, and let your money do the talking and engage in the purchase democracy that we have here. So
it's worth every penny.
So everybody, I'm just gonna go grab my water real quick.
Okay, I'll introduce it. So I'll talk about this.
Yeah, I'll advise
we're gonna
everybody get your popcorn and everything now.